Yes.
Okay, it is my great pleasure to introduce our speaker today. She's no stranger to our community. Reverend Leora began her spiritual journey here at the Riverside Community Center for Spiritual Living, becoming a licensed religious science practitioner in August 1996. She served at many capacities at RCCSL, including practitioner lead and a member of the Board of Trustees. She entered the Home Institute, she entered the Holmes Institute School of Conscious Studies, completing her master's degree program in 2005. She became an ordained religious science minister in 2007. Answering the call of ministry took Reverend Leora to Cleveland, Ohio, where her sister and her co-ministered at the Miracle CSL. Reverend Leora returned home to Hammond in 2012, founding the On Sunday Ministry, an outreach pastoral ministry. This ministry meets the last Sunday of each month at Hammond Center for Spiritual Living. Leora's ministry includes guest speaking, facilitating inspirational gatherings, workshops, weddings, and memorials. Beyond Sunday ministry spreads spiritual oxygen and healing patterns. Please help me welcome Reverend Leora Nash.
Well, my goodness, here I am again. How wonderful it is to be at home again.
Yes.
And I just can't help but begin to thank Dan for his story, because we each have a story. We may not have the experience that Dan has had, but we have each had a story that we have lived through. So before we move into today's lesson, which is Your Fortune Begins in Consciousness, I want us to become aware of the fortune that is within us. And this is a little bit of a difficult or different exercise. But I just want you to say, I give thanks. Say that with me.
I give thanks.
And in my giving thanks, I release all the story that I have already lived.
And in my giving thanks, I release all the story I have already lived.
You see, this is what Dan talked about so beautifully. Because we each have lived life. Life is eternal, and we live day by day through our own story. So when we begin to move into this awareness of consciousness, knowing that God is all that there is, that we are perfect and right on target no matter what it is that we are to go through, there's something called courage that pushes us on day by day. And sometimes we're not even recognizing that it's courage. But what I like to refer to as spiritual oxygen nurtures our soul. So let's take a deep breath right now. Just breathe in and release. You see, when we breathe in, we can only take in a certain amount of the capacity, because that's the capacity that our lungs will receive. But when we breathe out, when we release that breath, it moves into the eternal, infinite being of life. That's the process. So when we breathe in, I want you to begin to look at what it is that we're taking in, and that is spiritual oxygen that feeds every cell of our being, not only physically, but mentally. Because as we breathe into life, and we have already released our story in yesterday, we have nothing left to hold on to that holds us down, that tells us we're lack, or whatever that is. Don't even want to deal with it. We just want to be healthy, whole, perfect, and complete, and to move forward so that we can receive readily the fortune that begins in individual consciousness. Can you feel that?
Yes.
Okay. Your way, your way. So today is the first Sunday of November, and I like to look at November as being the gateway into this whole transformation time of what we call holiday. We have Thanksgiving, we look at the Turkey Day and so forth and so on, but I invite you from today on into Thanksgiving. Every day when you wake up, just realize that I'm breathing spiritual oxygen, and it's enlivening me to give and to be and to do the most magnificent things that I have ever aspired to be. Because you see, until we connect with the sense of who we be, we cannot do anything. Because what we be is the living expression of God itself. Because God is all that there is. There's nothing outside of that. So the more that we begin to recognize the truth of all that is God, and that we have that individualized expression of the Almighty, then we can easily let go of yesterday. We can easily let go of the stress and the struggles and the successes, whatever it is we saw measured in terms of identity and how we look at our past and whatever that is we have lived through, we have achieved. And it really doesn't matter because it's all in the past. Yeah. So we can let it go. The problem becomes when we camp out at some of these situations that we have lived in and lived through, that we stay stuck, that we set up housekeeping, and then we go looking for somebody else's house to live in. And then you got it. So we're going to begin today just by simply awakening into our own consciousness and allowing that consciousness to move us into a greater awareness of our fortune. So our lesson today is your fortune begins in consciousness. So are you with me?
Yes.
Okay, good. In Genevieve Behrend's book, Your Invisible Power, it's about the mental science of Thomas Troward's teaching. She declares, there is nothing unusual or mysterious in the idea of your pictured desire coming into material evidence. It is the working of a universal natural law. The world was projected by the self-contemplation of the universal mind, and this same action is taking place in its individualized branch, which is the mind of God, the mind of man. Saying all of that, as we know within religious science teachings, affirmative prayer, God is all that there is, and that we are one with that reality. That's what all those words translate to. That God is, I am. So we have our recognition and we have our unification. So that's so empowering. That is so empowering. That's the fortune of the legacy that tells us who it is that we be. So that when we connect with that strength, then we can be who we be in a most realistic manner to do what it is that we are self-designed to do. Because there's nobody else in life who you are. Isn't that wonderful news? Yeah. I forbid that there would be another one of each one of us. I don't know. I'm enough, and I'm sure you are too, enough to just carry along by yourself. But this is what Ernest Holmes says, and he offers this as a condition for us to consider. And this was written back in 1966 in the Science of Mind magazine. And he says, hidden within the mind is a divinity incarnated in you and me, that which is an incarnation of God. This divine sonship is not a projection of that which is unlike our nature. It is not a projection of the divine into the human. God cannot project itself outside itself. God can only express itself within itself. There is and can be no such thing as distinct or separate individual that would be separate from the universe, which is so good. We're not a dangling participle somewhere. Man is not an individual in God, for this would presuppose isolation and separation and disunion. Man is an individualization of God. There is no God beyond truth, and no revelation higher than the realization of the divinity within us. Isn't that a beautiful truth?
Yes.
It is. And how often do we hold on to that truth? How often do we set that truth aside about ourselves to know who we be and recognize that we are a child of God and assume the authority and power that someone else attempts to assert on us and tells us what we are, which is untrue. Whether it's someone else that tells us or we tell it to ourselves. Nonetheless, we believe it. And it affects our lives. So with all of that said, let us claim our fortune and let us delve deeper and wider in consciousness as we decree truth in action. So I'm going to ask you to participate with me. I'm going to read this and then we're going to claim it. And if you don't agree with it, don't respond. In truth, I claim my fortune as prosperous, prolific health, as healing within all my relationships, including my relationship with myself. Like that?
Yes.
I do.
Yeah.
Say it every day. So with me now, I'm going to say it short, list so that you can catch it. In truth, I claim my fortune.
In truth, I claim my fortune
As prosperous, prolific health.
as prosperous, prolific health,
As healing within all my relationships.
as healing in all my relationships,
And this is big, including my relationship with myself.
including my relationship with myself.
And you know, we hear in the Bible it says, thy cup runneth over. So let's affirm, my cup runneth over. I am lovable. Say that, I am lovable.
I am lovable.
I am love in action.
I am love in action.
My fortune is love.
My fortune is love.
Therefore I decree it so.
Therefore I decree it so.
Doesn't that kind of feel good inside?
Yes.
Yeah. Kind of get all the other crud out of the way, you know, and just feel this sense of charge. November is a time of renewal and awakening, rebirthing. I was talking to Dan earlier, and I said, you know, you've been born again. And in some faiths, you know, you talk about being born again. We're born again without having to follow all those other dictates. So in the Science of Mind textbook on page 269-1, the will of life has only to be life. The will of that which is infinite can never be finite. We should interpret the will of God to be everything that expresses life without hurt. This seems to be a very logical, sane, and intelligent criterion. Anything that will enable us to express greater life, greater happiness, greater power, so long as it does not harm anyone, must be the will of God for each one of us. As much life as one can conceive will become a part of his or her experience. So we invite in that inspiration that we call life, living. We get to do the action part. Life is eternal. Life just is. Synonymous with what God is. Principle. But the action part is each one of us. So it really invites us each to begin to look at, what do I do? Firstly, what do I be? And then that is that beautiful inspiration that lives from the inside out, rather than to become consumed and concerned about outer things, outer expressions, other people, their opinion that dictates to us what we are showing up as. It's nonsense. The more that we know about the truth that indwells us, our individualized spirit, we are a living power that can do absolutely anything that we decide to do. Not because it's promotional or that we're being pushed into. That we have the right to be who we be. You agree?
Yes.
Oh, thank God. So I have another shout out. I love to call it shout-outs. That's just who I am. So we are awakening in belief.
We are awakening in belief.
In acceptance.
In acceptance.
It is the Father's good pleasure.
It is the Father's good pleasure
To give each one of us the kingdom.
to give each one of us the kingdom.
In other words, your future begins in consciousness. How do you get that association? To realize that the individualized future is ours to make happen. It's what we feed. You know, it's like everybody has an elephant in their life. But we have to take it down a bite at a time. So the more that we can clarify what it is that we're biting off or tearing off to shred, we want to put it back in to maintain that elephant. We're taking it down. We're taking life into its fullness and finding a way to carve it into the reality that we can express it and give it the glory. I always say we move and live from glory to glory. It is glorious when we come into life, and it's glory that we move into, but it's what happens in between that we have something to do with, living from glory to glory. So let's plant seeds within our mental conviction. We are expanding and deepening in consciousness. Tilling the mental soil, openly demanding divine fortune to have its sway as our daily living. Can you feel that?
Yes.
Are you going to practice this kind of new awareness to take charge of yourself every day and remembering those two words that I breathe in spiritual oxygen? Because you see, it encourages us, gives us a new direction rather than just getting up and going and brushing your teeth. Well, first of all, we stop at that little special room, but then we get up and brush our teeth. But it is a function. It's a function of living. It's a function of what we are physically. So when we show up, not only physically, let's go beyond the physical and begin to look at what is moving this physical existence. And it's the nature of life that lives us. It's that spiritual essence of what makes us who we are individually, what heals us. It's that light that is in the eternal darkness. I loved Halloween. I just came back. My sister and I went up to Canada. And boy, do they celebrate Halloween. I mean, adults with face paintings and costumes and kids and everybody. And I thought how interesting it is that they put on these masks and this characterization to have fun. I mean, they were celebrating. And then I thought about when I was in the airport, and I looked at everybody and I thought, they're wearing masks that they don't even realize that they have on. Because everybody was stoic or annoyed or angry or fussing because the plane was late or whatever. We wear a mask that we're not even aware of. So we can begin to feed our soul and begin to take down that mask and let the raw beauty of who we are show up. Because we live from the inside out. We live from the inside out. And that's what spiritual inspiration, that spiritual breath does for each of us. It enlivens us. So we're going to do another shout out. So we're going to declare every day, I'm going to check in on me. No mistakes have been made.
No mistakes have been made.
None are being made.
None are being made.
And none can be made.
And none can be made.
Ernest Holmes told us that in the Science of Mind textbook on page 290, the second paragraph. So it's not Leora's words. It's part of what we know. It's part of our teaching. It's part of the teachings of what religious science is all about. It's the science of the mind. It moves us from practical to inspiration. You can't put your thumb on it, but you can put your thumb on your heart and feel the reality of your own life to know that you're connected with that spiritual essence. So what we talk about in here is what comes out of your mouth. And if what you want that to change that comes out of your mouth, change your thinking, heal your life. Make sense? A little quiet on that one.
Yes.
Okay. Just kidding. So there is one supreme intelligence which governs, guides, guards, tells us what to do, when to act, and how to act. So with all of that said, I invite you to just close your eyes for just a moment, because I want to read just a touch of an inspiration that I found relevant to this lesson today in the Bible. It invites us to move deeper and wider into the acceptance of our divine inheritance. For us each to claim and resonate in the truth that our fortune is at hand. And the example so points out so beautifully in the words of Jesus. And it's written in John, 5th chapter, 6th, 7th, 8th verse. Jesus called forth to the sick man laying in a conditioned state of despair. Jesus posed the question, do you want to be made well? The sick man answered, Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. But while I am coming, another steps down before me. Jesus listened, commanded, rise, take up your bed, and walk. So open your eyes. And I want you to realize that that's a metaphor for someone who, what I feel, I interpret as someone who is totally down and out. Someone who is perhaps what we call today homeless, living along the side of the road, just unable to walk anymore, unable to feel good about anything, unable to really take nourishment of life around himself, and unable to ask someone else to give assistance to him. And if he did, perhaps those individuals that were around were incapable of stopping to give a friend a hand, to take him to the river where he could submerge himself to be bathed, perhaps drink. Aren't we all that way? When we fall off the turnip truck and we feel as if life is going by and we're disconnected from it. How many times do we not reach out in an inspirational way? God, be of assistance to me. What do I need to do? What is this all about? Why have you forsaken me? It's time to climb down off the cross. It is time to climb down off the cross. Feel that sense of courage. Feel that sense of strength. Because courage and strength are qualities of God that are already a part of us. We don't have to learn how to be courageous. We don't have to learn to be strong. Because when we came from glory into physical being, life showed up and every cell in our body brought us to where you are sitting on these pews right here and now. You never paid attention to it. It just showed up. And how it is that it shows up is how we show out. So once we're aware and become reborn again, we rebirth ourselves into realizing that being aware of spiritual oxygen, that we can infuse the sense of person that we are and live differently, live creatively, come from our sense of self, rather than what someone supposes that we're to be. We can create who we are with our own choices. Because the choices that we make, if it's going to work, it'll work. If it doesn't work, guess who gets to change the direction of what we're doing and how we're to be? We do. We do. So it's a matter of what am I surrendering to? So for me, that aspect, that teaching of Jesus' works reminds us of our trials, our tribulations, our worries, our doubts, our fears, and how we can release them and turn them into fortune. How we can give thanks for that by saying all of what I have lived up up to this very moment, I give thanks for it. Because without my experiences, without the experiences that I have personally gone through, I wouldn't know how to be today. So we just simply let it go. And there's an element of us to say, I forgive. I forgive. Let's not dwell on the forgiveness, and let's move into the claiming. That I claim what I be. I claim this new inspiration, this awareness of how to be and how to show up differently in life. Empowered by self-design. So again, I want to turn to science of mind and really give me every lesson in science of mind today. But these teachings are from my most wonderful book that I think I first stepped into and read when I stepped into religious science back in 1991. A thing called You.
Oh,
If you haven't read that book, make sure you go to the bookstore and buy it.
yes.
It's all about you.
Yes.
Expectancy speeds progress. Expectancy speeds progress. Therefore, live in a continual state of expectancy. No matter how much good you are experiencing today, expect greater good tomorrow. Imagine what would happen if we would expect the best and live that must become part of our experience. Doesn't that feel good?
Yes.
It would eventually become ours. So what are you expecting in your life? Perhaps happiness, perhaps health, perhaps some sense of joy, a sense of prosperity. So we relax into this awareness of expectancy because it's only going to come when we invite it in. Because we now know that as it comes in from deep within us, that realization of what it is that we want, we accept and know that because we are one with all that God is, that we can realize our greatest potential. So we're going to relax into our heart, awaken spiritual oxygen so that our soul can claim this affirmation, and it is taken directly from one of Dr. Holmes' lessons of Power for Good. And this is what he says, and I'll have to repeat it with me. This is powerful. It's kind of silly. I listened to lies long enough. And then, let me read it, and then we'll go through it. That's okay. She's ready. I'm so happy about that. I listened to lies long enough, and they brought me misery. Right now, I deny those false beliefs and affirm the truth. I am prosperous. I am prosperous because I choose to know that I am prosperous. How does that feel? Yeah. So let's try it. I listened to lies long enough.
I listened to lies long enough.
And they brought me misery.
And they brought me misery.
Now I deny those false beliefs.
Now I deny those false beliefs.
And affirm the truth.
And affirm the truth.
I am prosperous.
I am prosperous.
I am prosperous.
I am prosperous.
Because I choose to know.
Because I choose to know
That I am prosperous.
that I am prosperous.
So in doing so, we just simply claim our divinity, which is our divine inheritance. We basically embrace the fact of our open future. Doesn't that feel good?
Yes.
Our future is our fortune. Because when we begin to look forward progressively, assertively, affirmatively, that is our inheritance. And we claim a greater good. So repeat after me. Our fortune begins in consciousness.
Our fortune begins in consciousness.
I got it.
I got it.
I live it.
I live it.
And it lives me.
And it lives me.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Amen. Namaste.
Amen.
us move into this inner sanctuary. Realizing the very breath that we take is that spiritual oxygen that refuels, that lifts us, that commands our living spirit, the glory that is alive within us. To just be what it be. That we lay ourselves wide open to receive, to recognize, and give thanks for the beauty of this quality of oneness. As God is, I am. So in knowing this and claiming this absolute truth, I feel reborn in spirit, in knowledge. I feel all that I have been in pursuit of while I was walking in darkness. And now the light is upon me. It is within me. It radiates through health. It radiates through my checkbook. It radiates through my relationships. It radiates throughout my physical, mental experience of living life. It is that very quality that is my inherent fortune. And how wonderful, how beautiful, how glorious it is that I can now see. And what I see, I accept. And what I accept, I know. And what I know, I understand as God understands. That redeeming quality that defines each one of us. For there is no separation between what God is and what I am. So surrendering to this greater quality of existence, allowing the light to come forward within. The light as a burning bush within each and every soul, to be that encouragement, to be that confidence, to be that inner peace, to be that tranquility that harmonizes the very existence of our living. As it said, be ye transformed by the renewal of our mind. So we just simply give thanks for this time of fortune as we move deeper, wider into this expression of what we call consciousness. For it has been, it always is, and it forever will be accessible, available, right where we are. Therefore we claim it. We move deeper into it. We allow it to open, to surrender to it. We live it knowing that we are being transformed in a most wonderful, beautiful way. And for this, we acknowledge and give thanks. For it is so. The law commands that it's so. And as we think it, it is. So blessed be within this very sanctuary of our inner selves, the sanctuary of Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. A beautiful center of consciousness, because you and I are here. So we give thanks and we allow it to be, and if you're in agreement, we just simply affirm together.